I'm Sam Hartley, and this is Tyler Williams, and we're going to talk to you today about seismology. We worked with Steve Jones, founder of the Alabama Quake website, to build a seismograph in our 6th grade seismology classroom. Steve Jones is an amateur seismologist who developed the Earthquake 101 presentation in 2010.
So how have earthquakes affected people in history, and what has it done to societies? So the deadliest earthquake, which might be surprising to you, was the Shaanxi, China earthquake that was in 1556. 830,000 people were dead, mainly because they were living in very poorly constructed buildings, or they were living in caves, so their buildings or caves would enclose on them before they even had a chance to get out. We think it was about an 8.0 magnitude, but we're not very sure since we didn't know back then. As you can see on the map, it affected 10 provinces, and the epicenter was in Shaanxi. 97 counties were affected in those provinces, and about 60% of their population died in each county. The San Francisco earthquake that happened in 1906, there were 3,000 deaths, which is a major improvement from the Shaanxi, China earthquake. There were 3,000 deaths mainly because it was at 5 o'clock in the morning, so people were still sleeping, or they were in their office buildings when it happened. It was a 7.9 magnitude, but it caused major fires that took out what the earthquake did not. Now probably the earthquake we all remember the most, the Japan earthquake. It was a 9.0 magnitude, which is humongous, but only 1,600 deaths, which is a very low death toll for what could have happened for a 9.0. There were very low death toll because Japan was ready for something like this, and they had buildings that were strong enough to withstand an earthquake like this. But in the end, still 130,000 buildings were totally collapsed, along with about 300,000 other buildings that were damaged or half collapsed. Okay, so the Fukushima nuclear plant disaster, which was a direct effect of the tsunami that was caused by the earthquake. What happened was the tsunami waves went over the walls that they thought a tsunami could never go over. So it took out the bottom floors, which were generators and control rooms. So that led to 3 reactors melting, which could have caused mass radiation, but a few brave men and women went in, saved a lot of lives, and turned them off.
So what are earthquakes? Earthquakes are created on the boundaries of 2 tectonic plates. Tectonic plates are massive, slow-moving rock slabs underneath the Earth's surface. Tectonic plates, you can see the outline of them on the first map, all the earthquakes of a 4.0 magnitude or greater since 1898 are displayed as green dots. So you can see a lot of earthquakes occur between the one in the middle, which is called the Pacific Plate, and the Indo-Australian Plate, which is the one where Australia is over there. Now, these tectonic plates are in a physical layer of the Earth called the lithosphere, which is the upper mantle and crust of the Earth. The lithosphere is 10 to 200 kilometers wide, and this is where they actually are in. They float on top of the asthenosphere, which is a very liquidy layer of the upper mantle. Now, the tectonic plates cause earthquakes by shifting against each other in different ways. The convergent, the greatest boundaries, is when they go head-on, causing massive earthquakes, such as the Japan earthquake of 2011. This earthquake was very, very strong, a 9.0 of magnitude, and very destructive. Now, the next weakest is the transform, does moderate damage because the plates push past each other. An example of this is the Indonesian earthquake in 8.7 in 2012. Now, the weakest type of boundary is divergent. The Italy earthquake, which is a 5.8 in 2012, which was a very weak earthquake due to the type of boundary.
So how do we record these earthquakes? We use a machine called a seismograph. We built a seismograph with the help of our good friend, Mr. Steve Jones. A seismograph produces a seismogram, which is what you see here. In an earthquake, it picks up 3 different types of waves. P waves are primary waves. They're the fastest but least destructive. That's where the first squiggly lines are. Then S waves are secondary waves, which are the second most destructive and second fastest. They're when they increase in height. Then the surface waves, slowest but definitely most destructive. It's obvious to see where they are when the lines increase greatly in height. Surface waves are the deadliest because they actually come on the surface, so they can actually shake the base out of the building. And in a strong earthquake like the Japan earthquake, you might actually see the ground looking like it's rippling. So the first seismographs were pendulums with pins on the end of them, and you ran paper through them, so when there was an earthquake, it'd go back and forth and record the seismogram.
So how do we construct buildings so they can be more earthquake-proof? We have something called base isolators, which are underneath the buildings that strengthen the foundation. During an earthquake, these base isolators sway with the building so the building doesn't fall over and collapse. We also have something called a shear core, which connects to the ground with base isolators, and the shear core just strengthens the structure of the building and is connected with cross bracings to the shear walls. So during an earthquake, this building right here will shake from side to side but will not fall down. This is the Japan earthquake of 2011, and this right here is a building during the earthquake that is literally shaking from side to side. So this is Haiti. An earthquake in 2010 caused massive destruction in this country, which we are still trying to bring relief to. Had this country had better constructed buildings, then this earthquake, which was not quite so huge, would have been less devastating for the people. So our idea is to help bring good architecture to countries like these in earthquake zones so that earthquakes there are less devastating. That's our presentation. We hope you enjoyed, and thanks.